A legendary day Southeast Asia as we head back here in the final day of the Garena Premier League Spring 2017. We're going to be your shoutcasters for this game. I am Shinbu with one, for an eye, and with me is, of course, your coach, your caster, Coach Arctic.
Yes.
Your coach, your caster, Coach Arctic. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, this is a very, very important episode, of course, because this is the final day of the group stage. And from here, we determine who gets to face those bosses which are waiting in the semi-finals. Do take note that Thailand and, of course, Vietnam, with their stellar performances in the previous GPL, they're already locked in with the semi-finals. So, you know, between these two teams, Rigel, KLH, Mineski, and of course, Fortress Gaming, we are yet to determine who is the top two teams that will go out of this group stage.
Right, indeed. And of course, it's going to be very interesting as both Mineski and Fortius will be going up against each other. Very crucial match. Well, then again, all the games are crucial. It's just that at this point, one win for Mineski, if I'm not mistaken, will almost propel themselves to a greater chance of qualifying for the next stage, either going up against Thailand or Vietnam. We'll just have to see at the end of the day what will transpire.
Yes, of course. So now we have the Philippine representative, Mineski, as you see in our schedule, is going to be playing this time with, of course, Fortius representative from Indonesia. Interestingly, despite the shaky start in our group stage, they've been in a good position right now, taking multiple victories. You know, actually, if Mineski loses this one, the head-to-head matchup would be very, very dangerous for them in the instances, you know, that their score outside, you know, after the group stage would die up. Of course, that's one of the things to be considered here during the group stage. So
yes, indeed. And for Fortius, of course, it's a different story, as unfortunately with their loss against Team Rigel earlier, the stakes are a little bit, well, it's very crucial for them in the sense that they have to win this next game in order to kind of bounce back into making sure that their slot for qualifying for the next stage would be a lot more feasible for them. So we'll just have to see how it goes.
Definitely looking forward for the next games. Of course, this last three set of games would be very crucial for our teams, especially that with the final day of our group stage today, we head on tomorrow, guys, semi-finals. And of course, I know for our viewers, especially for the Filipino viewers, who has access, of course, for our guests as well, who made an effort so that they can watch the GPL Spring 2017 live this time here in Manila. Of course, we got our very own country, Philippines, hosting the event. Gonna be held in Samsung Hall, of course, SM Aura. So again, for our viewers who are interested to see that event firsthand, you still have a chance to purchase your ticket. So be sure to check out our website, gpl.garena.com, so for more information about the ticketing venues.
Yes, indeed.
So, as you could see, let's go for the standings again. For the status, you will check that again. What would Mineski want is to win this match, because they need to avoid a triple tie and definitely avoid a head-to-head loss against Fortress Gaming. Okay, again, when we say head-to-head loss, guys, in the instance of a triple tie, there is no tiebreaker. There is no tiebreaker match. They account for the head-to-head matches, and what happens there is that they account during the group stage if whoever won the game, you know, like 2-0 or you know, if you account for the head-to-head matchup of the teams who got a 2-0 against each other, then that would result for them defaulting to a victory in the instance of a tie. But of course, we still have our tiebreaker matches set still for today.
Yes.
Of course, not accounting for the head-to-head matchups. All right, so in the drafting, your thoughts, Arctic?
Yes, for the first ban, right off the bat, it's going to be the Lee Sin. Of course, you know, it's been an interesting trend how junglers are kind of the priority ban. I wouldn't say necessary priority, but we have been seeing a lot of jungle bans right off the bat.
Yeah.
So I'm actually not surprised, because for Fortius, Meowcon definitely showing up as one of the stronger forces for the Indonesian team right here. So no surprise that Mineski wants to deny that Lee Sin right off the bat. Of course, Renekton as well.
Yeah, there's been instances, the first game of Mineski versus Horseshoes, where ExoSen, there are actually mistakes here and there by ExoSen, but for the most part, the main, you know, when we say that Nixta, not playing right now for ExoSen because he gets swapped by Hamas here, but Nixta, we call him as the enabler of ExoSen. For that game against Forjuice, it can be said that Meowcon is the disabler of ExoSen using a Lee Sin, hence giving us a clear message why Mineski did ban it.
Yes, and that's actually an interesting point that you brought up, because like you did mention, Nixta was the jungler for when Mineski went up against 40s
Yes,
during
yes.
day one. So now that they're going to be using Hamas, it's interesting to see if Hamas, technically using Hamas as their jungler for the game against 40s, would it prove to be the key for finally securing a victory against 40s? Because yesterday they started pretty well,
Yes.
but ended up faltering quite a lot. So we'll just have to see if this kind of transitions into what MSK needs to secure a win against 40s. But again, let's go ahead and check out the
Other bands, of
Yes,
course. The
indeed.
donation for the bands here. You got a Syndra and a Karma for the hands of MSK, whereas Fortress looking for their final ban here. Interestingly, we got a Rumble ban. So what are your thoughts? Rumble getting denied against Sky Group.
Well, you know, Rumble, again, another one of those strong champions in the top lane as of the recent Garena Premier League season. So I'm not surprised, especially we've seen a lot of games wherein Rumble has been key into establishing dominance during key
Yes.
fights. So as well as the Syndra as well being banned out from Beyond. I don't mean the pun, but he definitely performs above and beyond
Yes,
with
of
these type
course.
of mid laners here. So no surprise as well. I'm actually not as surprised with the bans right here. There's definitely a trend as to what I've been seeing banned out from these different teams here.
Yes.
So very standard, I'd say. Standard in the sense that they definitely fit who they should be targeting depending on who they're up against.
Of course. You know, a focus on crucial elements. No, you could either focus on a player who is the one where the team plays around. An example would be like Kuala Lumpur Hunters. They play around GPL. Whereas for MSK, I know they're a very well-rounded team, but so far it can be said that for some games they've been playing around EXO Sen. And of course, for this game might be on Beyond, right? So we'll see, ladies and gentlemen. Before we head on into our drafting phase, of course, I want to take this time to thank our sponsors. Of course, first up is going to be on Plantronics. Thank you very much, PLDT, and of course, Corion Gate, partner cafe of the GPL Spring 2017. I would like to send my shoutouts also to our viewers there watching. Not just the Filipino viewers, but of course, to the viewers and our brothers there inside the Southeast Asian regions, of course, from Malaysia, for Indonesia, cheering for their respecting team. It is a solid honor to see, personally, the best talents in Southeast Asia as they square off in the Summoner Stream in determining who will get and proceed to the mid-season invitationals.
Yes, indeed. And it's very interesting, like you did mention, unlike last seasons wherein we had to go through the wild cards, now it's a straight buy into MSI,
Yes.
especially since, you know, we have a lot of regions, like I mentioned during the previous game, we have a lot of regions coming up with great teams, so it's nice to see that Riot recognizes the strengths of each region. So just to give an equal chance to everybody to demonstrate what they got, to show what they got, come to MSI.
You got your GPL hair.
Yeah, like
Unlocked.
sporting Garena red right
Yes.
here, ladies and gents.
I just realized, really just go for the support, of course.
Exactly.
Of course.
In honor of the
support the
yes.
league. Support the league, ladies and gents. Okay, we're just waiting to head back into our drafting phase. And once again, guys, just to remind you, we got the 6-man system rolling. I know for some of our players, they're not experiencing it really on the regular games for the normal queue, rank queue, and solo queue, and even in arrange 5s. But of course, aside from the 10-man system rolling for our league, we also have the patch 7.6. Okay, not the one which is live on our servers right now, 7.7. So you know there could be still a nice viability of picking up a Camille, right? Okay, so yes, we just heard that we got a technical difficulty. Okay, from our I think from one end of our production or for our players, but you know we'll get into that. Again, guys, just to remind you, we are playing the 7.6 patch. So you know the biggest changes on the 7.7, like the Mumu, 15% true damage doesn't apply here. I'm really curious how this cast will play into that. You know.
Oh yeah, that would be very interesting.
Have you watched? I mean, you've casted the game with Kuala Lumpur. Did you cast that?
Oh my goodness, it's
the way they play, right?
I'm such a fan of how Caspiel plays this game that, I mean, I have a lot of favorites, but individually, Caspiel absolutely.
Yes, man. Yeah, I mean, among his credentials, he actually managed to qualify for the challenger. You know, a ranked challenger on solo queue on his own in Korea. That is actually his proudest moment, as we have heard from him on one of his interviews. I want to highlight as well, now going back for this matchup for the Fortress, they got imports, you know, which as we mentioned, as we've been discussing, it was Beyond from Vietnam. Not to mention there's also Square. There's also Square, actually the rookie here for Fortress Gaming, but so far there's like a team which has been said, even Rofens has mentioned that Indonesia Fortress is considered not as a threat here in GPL, but right now on the standings, it doesn't seem to be so.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just proves to show anything can go in the Garena Premier League. And Fortius defying beyond expectation, performed absolutely beautiful, going triple tie with everybody else 2-1 yesterday. Question is, will they be able to translate that into proceeding to the next level? That is something, ladies and gents, we'll have to see later on.
Yes, and I'm really looking forward as well to see the obvious threats here in the GPL, because as we mentioned earlier, we got Thailand, okay, Ascension Gaming, not to mention Marines, okay, from Vietnam. These two teams already locked in the semi-finals. Cannot be denied that there is a very threatening talent in the ranks of these two teams.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Do they know that Ascension Gaming can be said that they defeated Bangkok Titans, a consistent dominating team in the Southeast Asian region, but some can be said that actually Ascension Gaming is just a new name for Bangkok Titans.
Yeah, exactly.
But you also got for the Marines in I think it's Gigabyte Marines.
Yes.
The past it was called Bobo Marines, but I think they're named Gigabyte Marines right now. Vietnam's Optimus, really. All of the players, when you hear them, when they got their interview, they always mention the name Optimus, like the big boss on GPL.
It's kind of like, well, I wouldn't compare them in terms of skill, but like in terms of who they're gauging. Like if Korea has their faker,
yes,
I'd say Southeast Asia, people consider a threat Optimus.
Optimus,
right off the bat.
I may have wished though that when there was I think when Taiwan was included along with the Hong Kong esports, where there's no LMS yet. Of course, we know that the obvious threats really from this region, the Asian region, would be the likes of Westdoor.
Oh, there we go.
Very talented player. Actually managed to tap in the top 1 rank of all leagues, of major leagues, not just on his server, also the NA server. As far as I know, the only region that he did not, even in EU, if I'm not mistaken, the only region he did not touch the top 1 challenger spot was only in Korea, and that was the time where Faker has always been playing solo queue.
Talking about the teams, of course, because one thing is that, I mean, it's unfortunate if some teams may not make it to the next stage, which is the group stage.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, all countries have to be proud of their representatives. I mean, just being able to come here to the Garena Premier League is a huge honor in itself. And there's a lot of, I mean, even I personally, I may not be a player, but having actually experienced an international tournament, there's definitely a lot of pressure. It's a whole different ball game. So all I can say is, or all I can give is nothing but my kudos to all these different teams.
Yes, definitely. And I also want to characterize the teams playing here. So of course, we've been doing our studies, of course, before they dive in here in the Philippines, before they went in here in the Philippines and play for the GPL. We've observed their leagues, how it was done. And, you could see actually the stylistic differences between this, not just the teams, but on the regions per se. Like, an example would be the way they do the draft. So far in the Philippines, of course, on the advent of 7.5, if I'm not mistaken, there's actually this running pattern of, showing your bottom lane early.
Yes.
Revealing like a default pick to a Lulu, the Karma, because it's not really that threatening to show your bottom lane, especially with the changes right now, and especially with the shallow, I would say shallow, yes, champion pool in the bot lane, in the EDC pool right now. It can be put in one hand really. That right now for this running meta, you only get the Caitlyn, you only get the Lucian, you only get the Jean, and yeah, even the Ezreal. Actually, up to 4 players. There's even some instance of picking up a Varus, but we do know that nerf on Varus hurts a lot. Of course, the nerf on a Q, where you have to rely on putting in your basics and hit your blight stack for the cooldown refund. So that's for the Philippines. But for other countries, they focus more on revealing their jungle early, sometimes for the mid lane, and sometimes for securing picks in line with their aggressive playstyle. Anyway, guys, we're just gonna get back. We're just gonna go for a quick break because let's have this technical difficulty fixed first. But of course, we wanna send the biggest shoutouts for our viewers. Again, to our viewers who's not yet logged into your Google accounts. We are live at gaming.youtube.com/pagegarena/live. So be sure to interact and tell us your insights as we closely, unlock which teams will proceed to our semifinals here in the GPL Spring 2017. Of course, we're your Shoutcasters. We'll be back in a bit. I'm Shinbu1 for a 9. Of course, with me is Arctic. Guys, stay right there and we'll be right back. And we are back in the drafting phase. So the continuation here. We actually ended earlier, I think, with the Rumble ban for Fortress here. Lee Sin, Renekton. I saw Karma earlier, but of course, let's see if we'll be seeing that on the bans here for Mineski. But again, for the totality, actually, we got the picks completed here as well. I mean the previous picks here shown as well. I mean, we got the bans as well here. So there you go. Those are the previous bans, by the way, in our overlay, ladies and gents. So let's see what is the final ban here by Fortress, because before we head into that break, we got 5 bans here, and that's gonna be the Rengar. So your thoughts here, Arctic?
Yes, very interesting. So like I mentioned, very standard bans that we're seeing here. Standard in the sense that they're banning out very particular champions from each team here. So I'm actually interested that, well, then again, Karma is one of the champions that Rolfens has proved to be very efficient at when he was in their own Garuda series.
Yes, and actually when he was, I think Rolfens was playing Tamkech in their first game. Interestingly, clearly, as I mentioned earlier, the obvious pattern for the Philippine meta, just, you know, show your bot lane early. Prioritize in picking the Lulu. Anyway, continuing.
So yes, and then for the Rengar as well, another champion, of course, an obvious ban out from Ham is right there. But then again, what's interesting here is that, let's go to the first pick from Mineski here, Lulu. So they're kind of sticking to what we know. They actually very well utilized the Lulu during one of their previous games, so I'm not surprised that they're going to be locking it once again as a priority pick. Grants definitely a little bit more utility, a little bit more safety for their bot lane. Can be aggressive, can be a little bit defensive when she needs to. Of course, transitioning to the Shen and the Kha'Zix right here. So interesting that they're going to be going for this Kha'Zix here. I'm interested in how Mineski will be responding to this in a way. Kha'Zix going to be taken away from Ham is right there, but in exchange, we'll be getting the grade. So another champion that we have seen as very efficient.
This is not surprising anyway. I mean the champion pool of Hamas, I'm really not familiar with it, but it's because Hamas, for the information of many, and of course for those who is not from the Philippines, because we've known Hamas here as part of Mineski, he actually is a substitute, ADC substitute for Mineski. Now picking up, you know, a secondary ADC in the jungle of the Graves, you know, actually in my opinion, seeing the stats as well for the rank, Graves is the best performing jungler right now, even in the 7.7 patch. Not surprising if it's for 7.6 as well. But yeah, my thoughts here is that I was actually thinking that Mineski would be picking up another Caitlyn based on their previous picks, just because there's a Lulu already locked in. But that doesn't seem to be the case, because they're saying so far in the GPL, one trick pony Zensho picking up the Jhin here.
Definitely, and they're going to be locking in that Jhin, of course.
Yes.
You know, there's definitely a lot more damage that we're seeing coming out from Mineski right off the back, both from the Graves and the Jhin. So they're going to be responding, of course, with an Ashe, Enchanted Crystal Arrow.
Yes.
Great way to great initiation tool, as well as to kind of keep members of Mineski on their feet.
Actually, one technique for that is actually just put down your vision, find isolated targets on those narrow corridors of the jungle, use the Enchanted Crystal Arrow on a max range, maximum crowd control, Kha'Zix will jump onto you.
Yeah, so we'll just have to see how this translates, especially knowing Chopper and Rothans. They have always had this interesting play in their bot lane, so I'm interested in seeing how the Ashe will kind of work out for them.
Yes.
And of course, going to the bans right here, Vladimir going to be banned out from Exocen. We have seen him utilize that Vladimir against Kuala Lumpur Hunters during the last game for day 1 of the GPL. And then the Malzahar support is going to be banned out from Rothans, as well as the Nautilus.
They'd be wishing to actually for Exocen to pick up the Twisted Fate, because so far on their last game against Mineski, that has been the obvious dent in the shield of Mineski's composition here with Melkon. As we have mentioned earlier during our first attempt on the draft, is that he's been very effective in disabling Exocen's Twisted Fate. Now I'm really curious, because after this pick up by Fortress Gaming, we're going to be seeing what should be the top laner, the solo lanes of Mineski. But of course, we are left as well with the support and the mid lane of Fortress.
Oh, yes, indeed. So, wow!
Okay, so
wow.
Seeing the 2016 Miss Fortune support meta still reminiscent here in the 7.6 patch. I'm really curious how will still that fit here against their fight against Mineski.
Exactly, especially since Miss Fortune has been kind of nerfed.
Yes.
But I guess she's still somewhat viable, not as powerful as she was when she was first demonstrated during Worlds, when Rox pulled out that very interesting Miss Fortune pick. So we'll just have to see how that'll work out for Fortress. So like I mentioned, from the bot lane, from Chopper and Rothans, they always had this interesting synergy. So we're just going to have to see how that transitions when they go for this Ashe and Miss Fortune bot lane.
Now I just remember Yes, Warwick in the top lane. For Kaigu, very effective in hunting down this, immobile champions, really, in the likes of the Ash and, Miss Fortune. You can actually remove that passive of Miss Fortune's passive movement speed just with one auto attack. And do take note that Kha'Zix is kind of have limited mobility as well, so long as his lip is not yet on evolved form.
Yes, and I feel like, if I'm not mistaken, this is the first time we'll be seeing a Warwick in the GPL.
Yeah.
Yeah, so very interesting. Especially like who better than to release something that isn't normally seen, even in competitive play, than the Warwick itself from MSK. So like you mentioned, Orianna gonna be locked in as well for MSK. Although I'm interested, could it potentially be the Graves top in the Warwick jungle? Or
yeah.
Oh yeah, so I guess.
But my guess is really the Warwick top lane, because we've seen Kaigo actually play that one in the BGS. Yes, Warwick top lane, which is very good and very nice in zoning out, multiple champions. And the thing about the Warwick is there is actually an instance very capable of translating into this kind of carry or split pusher where nobody, it's the same as those top laners like the Fiora or a Rumble, where nobody can outduel him. You'll have to send like 1 to 2 members. I mean, more than 1 member just to deal with this guy.
And he does get amplified by the fact that he gets that movement speed from the Orianna and the Lulu as well. Yeah. So it's all about the synergy for MSK right here. Whether or not they can pull it off, I have no doubts actually. Yeah. But of course, since they are in the GPL, things don't necessarily work out, especially when you're up against some of the top teams in your respective regions. So we'll just have to see how this goes.
Yeah, the interesting part here is that if you account for the composition of MSK, it's kind of well-rounded, really. Indeed. But we have to respect the damage and the capability to pull off skirmishes here by Fortress Gaming, in my opinion. During their first game against MSK, they've done well in terms of rotation, especially in the hands of Myokon. And if you're playing Kha'Zix, this affinity of being able to roam around effectively and rotate effectively, especially with the Kha'Zix, that's going to be very rewarding.
Yes.
The only obvious weakness here by the composition of Fortress is that it kind of lacks in crowd control. You can see in our loading screen that the crowd control would just fall. I mean, the hard crowd control here would just fall into the hands of the taunt of the Shen, not to mention the charm as well of the Ari. Do take note that yes, there's the enchanted crystal arrow, but the odds of that connecting or even the instances where you can use that enchanted crystal arrow is definitely conditional. It would require you to use that on the narrow corridors, to increase the odds of that ultimate connecting. Mentioning the crowd control to be available here by MSK, you still get the fear from the Warwick. There's also the Orianna slow, Shockwave. For the 4th game in the final day of our group stage between these two teams representing the Philippines, MSK versus the representative from Indonesia, Fortress. They've actually played their first game in the group stage with Fortress being victorious. Let's see if will MSK close that head-to-head match 1-1 as they try to secure more points here in our group stage. This is the Garena Premier League Spring 2017.
Yes, indeed. Vengeance is definitely the theme for MSK at this point after being upset by Fortress during day 1 of the GPL. So they're definitely seeking to even out the playing field here. As to, like you did mention, in a head-to-head that might be problematic for MSK if ever things didn't quite go their way for the standings towards the end of our final day for the GPL group stage right here before we proceed to the semifinals.
Yes, with Thailand.
Indeed.
And Vietnam waiting.
So there we go. Bot lane. Looks like both sides. Oh wait, rather not both sides, but jungler James will be going for that blue buff right off the bat along Myokon, but hold that thought right there.
Definitely very punishing as well for Chopper, especially if you receive that deadly flourish. And that's the thing, that power of those crowd control. We do know that deadly flourish is kind of a conditional as well. It would require to at least land one auto attack. But what's so cool about it is actually it counts your allies' auto attack and skills. So that's one. You can easily land that very nice long range crowd control, deadly flourish. And yep, I'm really looking forward to the level 6 spikes here between these two teams, mentioning because they got really explosive set of skills. You know, you got the Enchanted Crystal, Arrow, Bullet Time, the Spirit Rush from the Ari. Not to mention, for the side of MSK, we got, you know, crucial ultimates as well in hands of the Warwick, and of course, the Orianna and the Curtain Call of this JIT.
And here we go with Myokon transcending to their blue side of their jungle. Potentially might be going for, would ideally, when you're on the Kazakhs, I'd say would ideally wait for until you get to level 3, just so that you have all 3 skills up in your arsenal before going for ganks.
It's very hard to actually clear waves just using it. I mean, if you made like a very bad skill sequencing of, you know, upgrading your Q, then next would be E. That is so bad. The only way, I mean, I rarely see, or I have never seen that kind of skill sequencing on the Kazakhs. It's usually Q. Then, of course, after the Taste Their Fear, you'd use your Void Specs. But the problem there is for you to actually gank, you would actually, it would be nice to have the leap as well. So hence calling for a level 3 on the Kazakhs.
Yes, indeed. And it's interesting, both Chopper and Roffins go pushing the wave out, you know, creating a lot of pressure here for the bot lane of against MSK rather. So Zencho and TG kind of forced into their turret right here as Beyond and Exozen go for an exchange.
Yes, they're actually anticipating as well any gaps coming in from Hammers, but Hammers would just be going for the default level 4 rush, okay, on his jungle pathing.
Indeed, and if you're going to look at it, in a way, both the Ari and Exozen earlier on a little bit more vulnerable as far as if ever gank.
Yes.
But there we go, another trade-off happening between these bot laners getting trades back and forth right here. Robin's quite low on health.
And I think the way Zed's positions himself here is actually accounting if ever there's a Kazakhs to be possible lurking on that side brushes as well, because so far Kazakhs in the eyes of MSK hasn't shown himself even under a ward.
Yes, and Kaigu as well. A lot of 40 assist lanes, both the top and the bot lane, getting a lot of heavy pushes on. So this, of course, results to Square gonna get some vision into the jungle of MSK. You know, it's kind of predict, but that's
just gonna go at it. One out attack. I think Chopper made a mistake of turning around there. One final dungeon flurry. See, that's 2-0 in the bot lane.
It looks like down goes the bot lane for 40s. Not exactly the best start for them. Zencho and TG actually emerging on top. And it's interesting because Chopper and Roffins were actually going on the offensive during the first wave. So it's interesting how the tables were turned right off then, but here we go.
Of course, Mercon, the most hated player here by Exozen. In the ranks of Fortress, and once again, Mercon want to give Exozen a hard time, but of course, I think Alicia is more capable for that. Oh, there's the return damage, and Mercon, he's getting the isolation damage. I think he puts down the Smite to get the regeneration, and here comes Exozen, one final skill, one auto attack, gets the kill. Teleport as well coming in from Kaigu. This Warwick has no ultimate, continues the teleport. May rotate and translate or something. It's actually Kaigo just teleported for the minions.
Yes.
It's kind of weird. He should actually just get back on his own lane.
A little bit of taxation on the creeps right there, but nonetheless, very interestingly played by Exozen right there. Manages to escape with a slither of health, and things just aren't looking well for 40s within the first minutes of the game.
Definitely. You know, it's very dangerous to duel Graves head on, even when you got the regeneration coming in from that Smite on the Raptor coming. Even if you got the isolation damage, your Taste Their Fear, your Q is not yet evolved, and that's a big problem. Given the Thunderlord's Decree, that's a big burst and a very big advantage in terms of dueling in the hands of a Graves. Mentioning that the True Grit is always there to provide additional stats, actually like a pseudo item for Graves here on that duel against the Kazakhs.
And I just find it so interesting that they spotted each other in the bush, not on purpose. They just so happened that at the same time entered the bush and spotted each other and went into an all-out brawl right up there.
And both of them are very willing to take that fight.
Exactly.
Yes. Again, so what happened there? Of course, a first jungle item on the first back here by Hammers. This delayed the itemizations of Mekon, actually opting for a longsword. And Boots, okay, instead of completing that Tracker's Knife. But let's see how will that pan out. Of course, if you got this kind of itemization, that causes you to become aggressive. Where's the charm, ladies and gentlemen? Gonna go all in onto Exozen. I hate you, Mekon.
Yes.
That's what Exozen is saying right now.
Stop noticing me, Senpai. Myokon right there by Exozen, and immediately gets decimated. I really like the timing and the teamwork demonstrated by both Beyond and Myokon right there. But then again, that is to be expected as two of the newer additions to 40s right here.
Yeah. And just like that, the itemizations here of Mekon will pay off, but they do know that Beyond has no ultimate. And Exhaust on top of the collateral damage, and boom, in the face of Beyond.
Yes, indeed, 4-1 now on the scoreboard. Still looks like everything is on Mineski's table right now.
Yeah.
As Forty is still struggling to try to get their try to get on equal footing with Mineski right here, especially since one of the risks here is that if Fortius doesn't watch out for their bot lane, in the sense that if they fall way too behind, then that's where the Ashe and the Misfortune combo just kind of falter so flat altogether. So they want to make sure that they try to get back, at least if they can't at least overtake Mineski in terms of the lead, at least get back on equal ground.
And the thing about here is that the first kill on... Wait, hold on, Bloodleaf Flourish, no follow-up though. The thing about that first gank on Exosen, on an Orianna, my opinion on Orianna is that he's actually a very capable champion of coming back when he went behind. And actually, Orianna has a limited dynamic when it comes to becoming behind, because the way you put an Orianna behind is not just by camping her, but also by building defensively against her. This is reflected if like you receive a shockwave and it has little damage, then that is a signal that an Orianna is behind. But again, Orianna has a very nice kit in clearing waves. That's the thing. As long as she's getting his blue buff, she's still in a good spot. Mentioning as well that if she's building the Morellonomicon, mana and sustaining this lane won't be a problem.
Exactly, that's the beauty about an Orianna. You know, you don't have to worry. You don't have to worry too much about. I mean, just that one death on Exosen. It's somewhat acceptable. It's somewhat luxury in a way that they can afford. That
just snowballs, you know, if you kill an Orianna, it just snowballs you in lane, but doesn't necessarily put the Orianna behind. So I think that it would require Mekon additional ganks to really disable Exosen here. But so far, all of the side lanes are looking well here for Mineski. Mentioning Kaigo in the top lane, and of course, Zensho and TG in the bottom lane. Fortress may want to capitalize on the power of their ultimates here, mentioning as well that there is a very nice outplay potential that can come in from that stand united of Square's Shen.
Yes, and it's interesting that I feel like Mineski definitely studied how Fortius plays out the game, because knowing that, but let's see what happens here.
Yeah, puts in the blind, but of course he's still aiming which ball will he land that end of the line. And they got vision on James, so this might be very dangerous. But look at that. That's actually TG walking. Somewhere, you know, he actually went for the top lane just by walking. Wow.
A little bit of a synergy move, right? Both Exosen and Zensho right there. But yeah, the thing is that Myokon, I feel like, is one of the stronger forces on Fortius. But the problem is that Mineski, knowing how Myokon rotates around the map,
yes, that's the thing.
It's kind of denying Myokon and successful gank ventures. That being said, the only successful gank that he's encountered is the mid lane on Exosen. But other than that, it's been very hard for Myokon to really exert pressure, the pressure that he can on a Kha'Zix, especially as he demonstrated during previous games.
They may want to learn a thing or two from Kuala Lumpur Hunters, where Kuala Lumpur Hunters heavily, and I want to emphasize that, heavily plays around Caspial. Like, when Caspial played the Kha'Zix and visited one side of the jungle, like the blue camp there. I think on their game against, I think that was on Rigel, if I'm not mistaken, on Fortress. You know, there were 4 wards landed there by his teammates. So that's the problem. What happened in the mid lane was actually Beyond not quickly responding on the trade up between James and Myokon. And look at that, James. When, you know what I want to describe James, he is a man of consistency. Right now, being efficient after pushing the top lane, go for another objective. That is Kaigu taking the Rip Herald.
Yes, indeed. And if you can look at the vision, Mineski has a lot of confidence in this game so far, and looks like Rip Herald. I'm actually interested in seeing who they'll be giving that to.
Yeah, very likely on the Warwick. You know, they really want to translate this Warwick onto a split pushing rabid duelist.
Yes.
Where nobody can 1v1, of course. And look at the itemization as well. He got he's on his way and building a Rush Titanic Hydra. So let's see, ladies and gentlemen, because still we are in the early game phase, despite the ultimates being available here. Again, one of the win conditions here for Fortress is to like set up early, group up early, because a very stellar bullet time from Rofence could turn things around.
It's actually a great point that you brought up, because especially with Chopper and Rofen's kind of behind right now, it would be hard for just them to even though if they get the full combo in, I don't think it'll be enough, especially since TG has all the utility to kind of negate not negate or minimize that. That being said, grouping up together would definitely be much more logical. But the problem is that Mineski playing it smart in the sense that one of the ways they could have come back is through Miakon.
Yeah.
It's just that the vision that Mineski has, if you notice, a lot of the routes that Miakon has been passing by when he attempts ganks is always warded. So it's just so hard for...
They have a clear idea where Miakon is.
Exactly.
You know, just they could easily interpolate even if they haven't seen Miakon directly with this vision, but as long as there's the vision established on those jungle spots, on those routes, then that would work really well for Mineski. And what I want to describe as well here is that the itemizations of Mineski, they have the raw damage prepared for the mid-game fights. Look at that. That's going to be the Blade of the Ruined King completed for Fortress. The thing about Blade of the Ruined King, yes, I do understand that there's more base damage on it. There's also, you know, a stronger active early on. But compared to a Jin, you know, with this Rated Dark plus a pickaxe plus the BF sword, there's, and of course, mentioning the Warrior's Enchantment already completed on top of a page on Amis here, I would give the raw damage for the mid-game fights in the hands of Mineski.
Most definitely, and looks like Mineski going to be going for this dragon here, uncontested, but here we go. Will we be seeing a skirmish? That is the question. Miakon trying to distinguish a target, but realizing
a stand-up. Yeah, a stand-up, ladies and gentlemen. Rather, that's going to be Rofens burning 2 flashes with 1 ultimate.
Not bad.
Not bad. Not
a
definitely.
bad trade. I mean, with 2 summoners down, does definitely leave Mineski's bot lane quite vulnerable. That being said, this might be the chance for Miakon to maybe get a gank on, but again, at the end of the day, it's all up to Chopper and Roffins here to establish vision, to counter the vision that Mineski has in order for that to translate into a gank. Because even though with 2 flashes down, if they can't get any ganks on because of the lack of control on the vision, but let's see what goes on here.
Let's see, Shockwave is still available. Leading the fray would be the bullets of Zensho and Hammers to follow up. Puts in the slow. Of course, there's the nerf on the Gene felt here. Here comes the Shockwave. All in on Chopper in the back line. Gonna go for Kaigu, and that's gonna be Mineski's skirmish wonder. But of course, there's a 2-man teleport coming in here in the bot lane with DG gone. Only 4 members are remaining in the hands of Mineski, but do take note that 4 is remaining as well for Fortunes members. Kaigu going so low here, and Square is just soaking up a lot of damage. Did not die despite below 50 health. Mekon though cannot make this dive. There's the flash in. Spirit Rush. Shield mitigates the damage, but I think that stops it. It's a 2-4-2. Or rather a 2-4-1 in favor of Fortress.
Yes, that tower dive probably wasn't the best move by Mineski.
Yes.
Because with 2 teleports up for both Square and Beyond, as you can see, they were easily able to respond, and a lot of members of Mineski were quite low at that point. So if we're going to look here, Hamas and Exosen actually have the right mind to, you know, initiate onto the members of Fortress right here, but Robbins and Chopper going into their tower here, so this might have been a little bit in too deep for Mineski right here. Exosen was actually taking a lot of turret shots instead of Kaigu, and then here comes the double teleports from both Beyond and Square here. So as you can see, with Exosen quite low, they actually managed to target who's on the front line, which is Kaigu. Of course, Kaigu, not exactly tanky just yet, goes down. So with the rest of the members of Forty, seeing if they could get any further kills, and that was kind of messy on Mineski's part.
And my thoughts as well is, had it been there's a flash on Zensho, he could have flashed on the left side and instantly land that 4th bullet on Miakon. Now, what I want to mention here is that actually earlier on that dragon pickup by Mineski, the Ash ultimate landed on EXO. But the problem there is there's no follow-up, and that's a given because Fortress cannot really follow up easily right now on that Ash ultimate, especially if it land on the likes of an EXO, especially on Oriana. But hold that thought, that's going to be Kaigu getting base check here. Let's see, he's still winning the trade up, and as I mentioned, that's how Mekon is squishy. Look at how Kaigu does this duel. It's a 3v1 instead of a 2v1, and clearly that's an obvious threat right now in the top lane in ranks of Mineski, and again against Fortress as well, because Mekon here, as I mentioned, one of the good follow-ups, going back for my topic on that Ash ultimate on EXO, is that one of the good follow-ups on the Ash ultimate is the jump from Kha'Zix. But would you really jump on an Oriana? If you're Mekon, would you really jump on an Oriana with a Shockwave combo? I think that's very threatening. Right now, Mekon is lacking in Magic Resistance as defensive itemizations for Exocen. And so far, there's really no call for building defensive itemizations if you really want to get back in this game because there's just only one magic damage dealer in Mineski's side. Of course, if you don't account for the Lulu.
Yes, indeed. And Mineski, they have to be a little bit more careful because they... Oh, no!
And that's how it is done. And that's how the shockwave ends. And that's how Macon will pop. Just so, feeding in our discussion. Nice sidestep there by James. Instantly in exchange for Kaigu. Mineski takes the jungler away. Wow.
Yes, I feel like that would have been in a little bit more of Fortius's favor had Roffins had his ult up. But as we did see earlier, use it for the wave clear. But then again, it was necessary to save that bot lane turret.
Yeah.
So it's all about weighing in which of the objectives or which do you want to protect more. Would it be the objectives, or would you want to provide more safety or kill potential onto the members of Mineski? So it's all about weighing in.
Do take note, we are entering the mid-game phase. This is the fights where multiple members will get to participate. And I want to mention, that's a good read. Fortress should realize you cannot easily jump on anyone, especially if you're a Macon. Especially if you don't know, if you have no idea where Exocen is, because that shockwave still hurts a lot.
I actually like the patience from Fortius here because like we did earlier, Mineski actually had quite an interesting lead. But because of, I'd say the first mistake would have been in the too deep of a dive. Second would have been Kaigu dying to two to three members of Fortius right here. So sure, they kind of have a small lead, but that kind of gave Fortius a way to slowly get back into this game right here. The question is, will Mineski continue fumble, and will Fortius continue to capitalize on the mistakes that Mineski has been making? So we'll just have to see. Mineski, of course, has to respect Fortius in this sense, though, as they proceed to this mid-game.
Let's see steadily, guys. Right now, 18 minutes into the game. I mean, this outer turrets by Mineski is dragon quite a bit, but of course that is a statement of how they have taken control of the mid-game phase, or actually managed to ward off one of the main enablers here of Fortress, which is Mercon. And right now James has his eyes set on this blue side jungle. They have a clear idea of where this area might be. James has shown himself. I really wouldn't recommend taking this fight. There is the QW damage. Ow! No Negatron Cloak on Beyond. Look at the health bar of Ari.
Yes, indeed, and looks like knowing that Beyond is very much low on health, looks like they will be transcending to an Infernal Drake right here. Question is, will Mineski be able to get this, or will Miyakon contest?
The thing here is that Miyakon has his might on cooldown. All that James needs is to rush this one. 800 mark, 500 mark, clearly without any smite, no contest coming in from Fortius.
Yes, indeed. So Fortius just trying to show a little bit of a threat to Mineski without any actual intent of diving, and just to kind of scare them. Of course, did not pay off as Mineski was able to secure that dragon. All the more objectives for Mineski.
So let's see how can Fortress bounce back from this one. Of course, with the 3k gold deficit, mentioning as well that they are yet to take their first turret against Mineski. Right now, again, they should account for the things that they should not do first, and that is of Macon diving right now. What would be suggestible against Mineski would be to a divide and conquer strategy, like find a way to force Mineski on rotating so that there will be isolated targets without Exocen around. Look at that, a little trade up here. TG, especially with the skills here, flash away, Enchanted Crystal Arrow. There's the shield coming in from the Shen. Movement speed is needed here for Chopper. The fourth bullet hurts a lot. Current Call on top of Kaigo joining this fight. Chopper goes so low. The third bullet not needed even as the fourth will connect onto Rovens. James is doing the work onto Beyond. Not going to be able to join this fight. And it's a double kill already for the big bad wolf of Mineski. Charm did not connect. Fourth bullet on Zensho landed on the minion. Macon, he will leap away on top of that voice pack against TG. It's an easily 2 members devoured here by Mineski. And an outer bot lane turret as well. They still continue. Will Kaigo land the crowd control? Of course, they're just buying time. Shockwave onto Square. Another casualty falls into the hands of Mineski. Look at that. Look at Kaigo. Empowered by the shields. Empowered by the Rip Herald. This is the White Wolf from the Philippines.
Yes, indeed. Chopper was left alone to
Macon, though, with Exhaust, did not anticipate that summoner spell. And yep, that stops disengage by Mineski. All they need is to actually encash this one right now. There's a very heavy call for Rovens in landing a very nice and stellar bullet time. Can they turn things around? Can they at least change something against Mineski? The charm, Kaigo not yet falling in love 4 beyond here, and still, yep, I think that's the total reason for that fight. Extended fight rather in the bot lane.
Yes, indeed. Of course, this is quite troublesome for Fortius right here, because as we saw, Chopper almost could have gotten a kill had he been with his support, maybe.
Yes.
Or, well, even just the fact that this is the problem when you're behind on an Ashe in this fortune here. Like I mentioned, they're having such trouble. But let's go ahead and check out the replay here. So as you can see, Chopper actually dealing a substantial amount of damage onto TG right here. Zensho not even trading out, and Chopper actually almost going into rage, gets the heal. Zensho getting the heal onto TG here. So Square attempting to potentially have gone for the taunt onto TG. It's just that all the members of MSK starting to join the party here. Chopper, the first to go down to Kaigu, and Kaigu just making work onto the members of Fortius right here, getting onto Ruffins, gets the ult, securing yet another kill. So this just makes MSK so much more ahead. And Fortius, as you can see, tried to defend, but didn't quite work out.
Yes, Fortius would really want to turn things around, and that's how it is done. As Beyond goes in big against Zensho, that is a crucial target. Of course, the Orb of Deception will back block the batting here of TG. Hammers will enforce a flash away. The bounce back as well comes in from the collateral damage, and Makon, this time it's my turn as Exosen gets the kill against the jungler of Fortius.
Oh my goodness, MSK making a lot of work out of Fortius here. Just when you thought Fortius might have turned things in their favor, eventually it went even 1-for-1, and Fortius clearly wanting to try to push on in the tower, but still not managing to get a single one, although top lane actually getting pushed forward.
Yeah, and this is the phase of the game where, you know, you got a split pushing Rabid Wolf on a side lane.
Yes, howling from Egu is right. Is quite real in this. Exosen actually...
Even Square cannot really do well against this Warwick, and that's going to be an obvious problem here by Fortius. So what can be done? What can be done? We'd be expecting at least the advantage here, if they ever want to translate that to something, is that Fortius has an idea that MSK will be pulling up a 4-1.
Yes.
So if they're going to be pulling off a 4-1, vision is going to be very important in the instant that these 4 members will rotate onto one target. Rather, isolate Exosen, knowing there's no Kaigu to join this fight. Still the shockwave of the Rovens. The shield is there. Orb of Deception shuts down Exo.
Yes, the utility is definitely, although was not enough to save the life of Exosen right there. Mid for support, here comes the curtain call.
Hunt down this area. Kaigu is there. It's going to be the Wolf. That's going to be the Haunting rather. Look at that Chopper turn into a minion. Getting the free hit. All he need on the GDG. Look at the ultimate already burned. Cooldowns are up against MSK. But all that Senshin need is his pet Kaigu in front line. And that's going to be a free hitting ADC. All that Kaigu needs is to stick to one target and get that lifesteal from the Q charm. Senshin falls in love and died to Beyond. Rampage for the mid laner of Fortius.
Oh no, MSK fumbling with the ball right here, granting Fortius what they need to potentially translate into their first objective of the game. And this is the problem, MSK a little bit too comfortable with their lead and fumbled a lot. And Fortius just capitalizing on that so hard. And finally, first turret for Fortius right here. And yeah, let's go ahead and check out this replay right here. So curtain call being pushed out by Zensho right here as Kaigu goes into the front line. But of course, Chopper actually making a lot of work on the sideline, was not noticed right off the bat, gets shut down. And TG actually made work as well. They continue to give chase. Luckily, unfortunately, TG does go down next. Kaigu and Zensho try to go in. Technically, they are still healthy, but they get quite a bit. It takes a little bit of a while for them to actually take down a member, and as a result, they're decimated, you know, slowly kited into a lot of damage. Zensho, unfortunately, the next casualty right there, so a little bit of an overstay, a little overambitious by MSK.
Did not anticipate that the charm has been up for that little standoff. I mean, extended standoff in that mid lane. But so far, MSK still has the driver's seat here for this game, as they will take their third Drake in this game, the second Mountain Drake for their team.
Yes, indeed, and they'll be making easy work, at least translating this to a Drake as well to even things out. At least a consolation for a little bit of a fiasco that happened earlier in that top lane river. But still, MSK still looking strong as they still have the dominance. 3 towers down for the side of Fortius. So MSK still definitely has a lot of work, a lot of ground that they could work with.
I still believe Fortress can get back at this. Right now, in Fortress kit, as long as Makon would be getting another core item here, he's going to be back as a threatening Kha'Zix to isolated targets. Right now, I'm not seeing that much armor in the ranks of MSK. Mentioning as well that Beyond is performing in a stellar manner with this Ahri. You know, with the charms connecting that when it matters, but not like this. Not in a 2v1, not with a crit coming in from Zensho, even with the Thunderlord's Decree, with TG putting himself in the ultimate form. Definitely a mistake there by Beyond. Now I just complimented Beyond too early. Kaigu goes in rapid, activated movement speed, gets slowed here by the Make It Rain. Did not catch Makon. Not gonna smite this Roach here.
Yes.
His ultimate did not connect.
Beyond didn't quite respect the combo that was Zensho and TG, and in exchange demonstrated a lot of teamwork right there to take down Beyond. Beyond technically
overstayed.
Overstayed. Could have potentially escaped. It's just that overstayed are welcome, and looks like they will be going for the Baron in this
that's
case.
10 seconds still on Beyond. His teleport is still available, so all that Fortress would finish to the latest one. I think the bullet rush, or rather the bullet time, would just help out the Baron. Makon will be forced to flash away. There's the shield coming in from the Shen. He needs to back out. Everybody needs to back out. Hammers is on his way. Here comes Beyond. Can he turn things around us? All of the bullets from Curtin Cole to the next side square is flinching here. Fortress may have to call it quits. They are managing to escape. Oh, okay, Chopper is there, but all you need is to dodge those kills. I don't know. As you can see that all of the members of Fortress are going solo. Kaigo managed to connect. Here comes Beyond with a flag. One last hit. Ultimate coming in from TG. And Zansho with a fourth bullet. Make that a triple kill. Can he make a quadra? The final kill falls into the hands of Exosen with an Asosen.
That was so beautifully played by Mineski right there. Just the power. Overwhelming Fortius. This is the problem with Fortius right here. They don't really have the tools to just go head-to-head with Mineski just yet. Mineski clearly emerging the better person in that clash. As a result, they'll be translating this to so many objectives, forcing a lot more pressure onto Fortius. Fortius definitely has a lot of work up ahead against Mineski here.
This is going to be easily a Nexus Tower. Let's see if can they change this one. Let's link this one onto a Nexus. Rather, one Nexus turret should be enough. And yeah, totally a big win there by Mineski.
Yes, they have the Baron. They have an inhibitor pushed in. It's just so hard for Fortius at this point.
Yes. Oh my god. That pickup on Beyond in the bot lane is very punishing.
Yes, and here we go. Just as Mineski was able to secure the Baron, Curtin Cole actually did a lot of work. This is the thing. 4 members of Fortius were converged on together, taking the bulk of damage from the Curtin Call right there. And Mineski, actually look at the positioning from Fortius right here. Chopper, as you can see, is in the front line. Fortunately, there's nobody else on Fortius to front line for him just because everyone else is so low. And Kaigu is just so tanky, dealing tons of damage onto the members of Fortius. Front lining for Mineski as Mineski continues the chase. This was just a clash that went so bad for Fortius at that point.
A solid secret weapon in the ranks of Mineski. Warwick top lane. Well, we've seen that in the PGS, but right now it is proving itself as a dominating force in this game.
Yes, and I don't think anybody was quite expecting Kaigu to have brought out that Warwick. You know, a lot of people focusing on that meta, but I don't think anybody would have been prepared for seeing a Warwick, or even going up against a Warwick into a game without sufficient knowledge.
Yeah, this is the kind of lead that actually establishes Mineski on a road to taking another game in this group stage. So far, the odds of Fortress winning this game is close to nil. So what I would recommend for Fortress is actually just invest on stuff that would prevent them from losing, and that is, you know, shove the lanes, okay? But right now, this is actually the main asset of Mineski. Knowing that they got a very strong Warwick that can solo a lane, it's an easily a 4-1 enchanted by the Baron buff. Curtain Call once again puts FTS Fortress with the backs against the wall. All of the bullets has been consumed, but look at that, the damage with the collateral damage is just too much. Hammers is here, Beyond will join this part, but of course the charm did not connect. Oh my god! Exosen just landed the ball in the bottom duo of Fortress.
All those
Something has to be done here.
Indeed. So here we go, Mineski just pushing so hard. And Kaigu as well, you know, doing his own work in the bot lane, just confidently pushing that lane with his buff right there. And at this point, I don't see any possible way Fortius could come back from this.
Yeah, this is the redemption. Easily the next victory for Mineski. Ladies and gentlemen, taken from the Baron, actually taken from the bot lane, a pick up against Beyond. This is going to be Mineski's victory. Their victory against Fortress. Nicely done by Mineski. So, I mean, for their matchup, clearly the vengeance has been fulfilled there by Mineski. Do take note, guys, that Mineski did lose to Fortress on the day 1 of our group stage, but this is very, very different. It's like it's kind of a total out. It's not a total outclass, but you know, an element of an outclass has been done here, especially against Makon, where he is not allowed to anymore disrupt EXO.
Yes.
Yeah.
And definitely from Mineski, how they played that, they definitely, I'd definitely say that they studied Fortius in a way, you know.
Yes.
They kind of read Fortius' rotation by the book, you know, which is why Fortius had such a trouble exerting their signature pressure that I've usually seen from them in the early phases of the game. And Mineski just continued plummeting until they sure they did have those small micro mistakes, but it didn't really hinder them from the bigger picture of just establishing overall dominance on Summoner's Rift. And I just gotta commend them. That was just really well played.
And there's a solid hope for when Mineski was ready to actually take on the mid-game fight with the raw damage in the hands of the Gene, mentioning as well on Ham's consistency in farming. He's using a Graves anyway. Graves is very capable of doing that. There's a hope for Fortius at least, and that is on Beyond. But not with a 2v1 in the bot lane. That one, when Beyond was blocked out by Zensho and TG in the bot lane, that easily translate with Mineski calling it for the Baron. And with those death timers on Beyond, it was a total disaster for Fortius as they translated that skirmish in the Baron to the mid game, to the river side, to the east river side, actually to the Drake, where they just got wiped out. And you know, a total win for Mineski. From that point on, it looked already gloom for Fortius.
And of course, commendations as well to Fortius. I mean, like I mentioned, they didn't have the best expectations. A lot of people didn't expect as much, but I gotta say, I'm loving how they played out the GPL so far, and I just gotta give my commendations to the Indonesian team.
Now, playing above the expectations against you, that is definitely a statement. The biggest props for the Indonesian representative, Fortius Gaming. Ladies and gentlemen, that has been our game 4, and we have been your shoutcasters. I am Shibu with 1, 4, and I, and with me is Arctic. This is the 4th game of the Garena Premier League, final day of our group stage, of course, 2017 GPL Manila, and we'll be right back for game 5.
Or lack of control on the vision, but let's see what goes on
Let's
here.
see, Shockwave is still available. Leading the fray would be the bullets of Zensho and Hammers to follow up. Puts in the slow. Of course, there's the nerf on the Gene. Felt here. Here comes the Shockwave. All in on Chopper in the back line. Gonna go for Kaigu, and that's gonna be there. But of course, there's a 2-man teleport coming in here in the ball lane with DG gone. Only 4 members remaining in the hands of Mineski, but do take note that 4 is remaining as well for Fortius members. Kaigu going so low here, and Square is just soaking up a lot of damage. Did not die despite below 50 health. That's how it is done, and that's how the Shockwave ends, and that's how Macon will pop. Just so feeding in our discussion. Nice sidestep there by Hammers. Instantly in exchange for Kaigu from the Shen. Movement speed is needed here for Chopper. The bolt bullet hurts a lot. Curtain call on top of Kaigu joining this fight. Chopper goes so low. The 3rd bullet not needed even as the 4th will connect onto Rovens. Hammers is doing the work onto Beyond. Not going to be able to join this fight. And it's a double kill already for the big bad wolf of Mineski. Charm did not connect. 4th bullet on Zensho landed on the minion. Macon, he will lip away on top of that. Back again, but turn things around. And that's how it is done as Beyond goes in big against Zensho. That is a crucial target. Of course, the Orb of Deception will back drop the batting here of GG. Hammers will force to flash away. The bounce back as well comes in from the collateral damage, and Macon will this time onto one target. Rather, isolate EXO said, knowing there's no Kaigu to join this fight. Still the Shockwave of the Rovens. The shield is there. Orb of Deception shuts down EXO.
Yes, the utility is definitely
Curtain call, hunt down this area. Kaigu is there. It's gonna be the wolf. That's gonna be the haunting rather. Look at that Chopper turn into a minion, getting the free hit. All he need on the GDG. Look at the ultimate already burned. Cooldowns are up against Mineski, but all that Zensho did is he sped Kaigu in front line, and that's gonna be a free hitting ADC. All that Kaigu needs is to stick to one target and get that lifesteal from the Q charm. Zensho falls in love and dies. Fortius would finish the latest one. I think the bullet rush, or rather the bullet time, would just help out the Baron. Macon will be forced to flash away. There's the shield coming in from the Shen. He needs to back out. Everybody needs to back out. Hammers is on his way. Here comes Beyond. Can he turn things around us? All of the bullets from Curtain Call to the next side. Square is bleaching here. Fortius may have to call it quits. They are managing to escape. Okay, Chopper is there, but all he needs to dodge those kills. I don't know. As you can see that all of the members of Fortius are going solo. Kaigo managed to connect. Here comes Beyond with a flag. One last hit. Ultimate coming in from DG. And Zensho with a 4th bullet. Make that a triple kill. Can he make a quadra? The final kill falls into the hands of EXO-Sen with an puts FTS. Fortius with the backs against the wall. All of the bullets has been consumed, but look at that, the damage from the collateral damage is just too much. Hammers is here. Beyond will join this part, but of course the charm did not connect. Oh my god! Exo's hand. Take it from the Baron. Actually take it from the bot lane. A pick up against Beyond. This is going to be Mineski's victory. Their victory against Fortius.